In lesson number 3, we covered the Greek phonemes and the Greek morphemes, phonology, morphology, and looked at the uniqueness of the sound that each alphabetical letters have, and therefore how it affects the pronunciation of each of the words that is made of, but also how each of the letters put together gives us a form, and this form has a pronunciation, a unique pronunciation, and a unique meaning, but we also saw how in each of the letters, when a letter is put together, when you add a letter or group of letters to an existing form, then a new meaning is derived. And again, just a quick recap, we said a form, an existing word, which is already composed of group of letters, phoneme, when you add to that form, which we said we sometimes call it lexical root or lexical stem, when that form, root or stem, is put together with a letter or group of letters, 3 things happen. We said number 1, that form that is now modified is going to have a new form. Number 2, new pronunciation or sound. And number 3, the new meaning. And so I hope, again, you're continuing to practice your alphabet, which we covered in lesson 1 and 2, and that you've reviewed lesson 3, which is sound and forms, which is what I've just made reference to. And so in lesson 4, we now cover the Greek vowels so that we're able to understand a little bit more. Now, just like in English, the Greek letters may be divided into vowels and consonant. And so, Greek letters are divided into 2. And the first is what would call the vowels. Some people call it vowels. And number 2 is what we call the consonant. The consonants. Now, vowels, as many of you know, at least, are pronounced by exhaling air from the lungs. Now, Greek, however, has 7 vowels compared to 5 that exist in the English alphabetical letter, as we now call them. And so Greek, let's first put it all together, has alpha, it has epsilon, it has theta, it has iota. I'm putting these commas to separate them. It has omicron, it has upsilon, and it has omega. Okay, so you notice these are 7 letters of the alphabet. Now, we're going to talk about this in a little bit. So that means the rest, outside of this, the rest of the letters are what we call the consonants. So any other remaining letter that is not part of the 7, it is consonant, right? And so very, very important to notice that. Now, let's put the English vowel and then compare with the Greek vowel. And so the English vowels are 5 in number, and that is what will have the A or the R, the A, O, and A, or what originally we used to call it U, right? So this is the English. Now, let's contrast that with the Greek, which is alpha, epsilon, eta, iota, omicron, upsilon, and omega. Okay, so we are seeing that it has this is in common, alpha A, this is in common, okay, iota is there, O for omicron, U with upsilon. Okay, so already then that mean when you notice this, we're seeing heta different that English doesn't have, and we're seeing omega, which is unique. Okay, so you notice this uniqueness then. Now, what do this mean? Now we go back to our alphabet, and you remember we saw some, at least three uniqueness, and I emphasize that. Remember, if you're not sure, if you've forgotten, you need to go back and watch lesson 2, the second part of the alphabet, when we covered the last 12 letters of the alphabet. Three uniqueness in the usage is we saw that epsilon, which is written like that, we saw that eta, which is written like that, both of these are equivalent to the English E, but we saw that when it is eta, it is written like this with a bar on top. And then this is just written like that. But both of them, you notice, then are the same with that. And then secondly, remember we said omicron is equivalent to the English O, and we said omega, which is written like that. Both of these are equivalent, so omicron is equivalent to the English O, okay? Omega is equivalent to the English O, but written with a bar on top. But both of these, both omicron and omega, are equivalent to the English O. You notice then, so we see the difference here literally is that heta is already equivalent, when you say heta is already equivalent to the sound, and omicron is already equivalent to the sound of omega, omega with omicron. So literally it's similar letters just used differently, and we're going to see when and how omega and omicron is used, and eta and epsilon is used in this uniqueness. But at least to say then is that Greek has 7 letters of the vowel, English has only 5, and 2 out of those letters are used intentionally for purposes, and therefore the unique emphasis then is that epsilon, which appears here, and omicron, which appears here, these two are called short vowels, at least in Greek. Short vowels, very, very important. And then heta and omega are called long vowels. Okay, so already then, let me try to explain this therefore a little bit. So when the sound of the E in the word is strong and prolonged, we use heta, the one that would be written with like an E with a bar on top. Okay? So when the sound is soft, okay, when it is soft, but when the sound of the E in the word is soft and short, we use the short vowel, which is epsilon. Okay, which is written just like an E, the normal E. You notice that? And the same rule applies with how Omicron and Omega is used. So hopefully you're seeing the trend and where it's leading to. Okay, so when the sound of the O, when the sound of O in the word is strong and that sound is prolonged, we use, what do we use? We use that omega, which if we were to write it, it would be written O with a bar on top. And so the rule similar would therefore apply, that with how the Omicron is used, Omicron is therefore used as a short vowel, just like epsilon is used as a short vowel. And so that means when the sound of the O in the word is short, then is soft and short, then the word, the letter that is used, the word is short and soft, then we use which letter? In this case, we use Omicron, which would be written the normal O without a bar on top. Okay. Here, this was supposed to be soft and short. Soft. Okay, you get, I think you now get how these are used in comparison to the rest. I already explained the sigma. So you notice then that the Greek vowel has 7 letters. Now, sometime when the two of the Greek vowel letters are put together, it leads into what is called a diphthong. So a diphthong occurs when, so this diphthong occurs when two vowel letters are combined into one syllable. Sorry. So when there's two vowel letters combine, so back to back, to form one syllable, That combination is called a diphthong. And a diphthong, this word mean having two sounds. So diphthong comes from the Greek word delta, iota, phi, and then remember theta, and then omicron, gamma, double gamma, omicron, sigma, diphthongos. And diphthongos means having two sounds. Means having two sounds. And so Greek has at least 7 common diphthongs. Okay, so there are 7 diphthongs. And again, you notice the diphthong, two sounds, is straight up from the Greek word diphthongos, because you're seeing the delta, which is here, iota for I, the phi, theta, th, omicron, o, and then something I'm going to explain later is then we'll have the gamma, double gamma, omicron, sigma. Okay, so we said Greek has 7 diphthongs, and these 7 diphthongs are this. So let me write that down here. Diphthongs, and to help us, I'm going to put it how it is pronounced. How it's pronounced. And we'll have at least an example, a Greek vocabulary example. Okay, so I think I can create a better line for this so that there's space. Pronunciation. Pronunciation, and then Greek example. Okay, so the first of those, so this pronunciation, we're going to use an English vocabulary that we know, at least familiar with, to be able to get a grip of what we're talking about. And so the first of those diphthongs, remember we're saying when 2 vowel letters are put together to form one syllable, meaning it's having 2 sounds. And remember, each of the vowel letters has its own sound, so when it's put together. And so alpha iota is a first diphthong. And an example for the diphthong, for alpha iota, think of how you pronounce this. This is an English word, right? But the Greek word, vocabulary, that we're going to use is ion and new. And we're going to, again, for now, don't mind about this stroke on top of the omega. So this is pronounced as io, right? The second diphthong is epsilon iota a. For example, think of 8. You notice for each of these, we're pronouncing io 8. And so both the epsilon iota ei sound is coming out together. And so the Greek vocabulary and example for that is eirene, a, raining, where we get the word peace. So again, notice the A, the ion. The third of the diphthong is oi, omicron iota, and omicron iota. So think of, we're saying the word oil in the English word. For example, oil. You hear again the oil, O and the I sound is coming out clearly. And so a Greek word for that, and as an example, think of oikos. Oikos, well, which is the word for house, right? So this vocabularies, so iron is where we'd get the word H. A raining is where we get the word peace. And oikos means house. Okay. Now, the fourth diphthong is ui, which is upsilon iota. And upsilon iota, so think of if this word, sweet, and you notice sweet, the ui, upsilon iota sound, or at least for the Greek vocabulary, think of uios. Uios, so there's upsilon iota omicron sigma, uios for the word son, like uios to theos. Isus Christos uios to theos. Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Uios to theos. All right. Number 5, the fifth diphthong is ow. Alpha, want to keep the colors the same. Alpha upsilon, and think of the English word like Faust. So you're noticing again, it is here, oust, ow. So both the A and the U sound is coming. Remember, we're saying when two vowel, now each of the vowel has its own unique letters and it affects the sound in a word. If you remember lesson 3, the sound and the form. And so, but when it's put together, each of these letters sound is still present. That's why we call it diphthong, because it is having two sounds, right? So Faust, think of a Greek example we can give for that would be autos, which is for the word to mean self. And so again, you remember oi is there, uios, autos, autos, for self, means self. And the sixth is eu, which is epsilon, upsilon. Epsilon, upsilon as a diphthong, the letter epsilon and upsilon put together. So think of this word feud. Right, so you're noticing the epsilon, upsilon, the eu is there. Now the Greek word, think of this Greek word, at least a vocabulary, hiologithos. So Paul uses this word in Ephesians 1:3, hiologithos theos, pater Isus Christos soterion hemon, hiologithos, where we get the word theology. Theology means to bless or pray, to praise. So logithos, so epsilon, upsilon, logos, hulo, then gamma, and then eta, tau, omicron, sigma, hyologithos. And this word means to praise, means to bless. And so, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. Paul would use that, and as he opens his letter with a praise and thankfulness. The last of the letter in the diphthong is O, which is omicron upsilon. Omicron upsilon. So think of this word, the English vocabulary soup. Think of soup. You see it's there. But for the Greek vocabulary example, think of the word Ouranos, which is, or at least compared with Uranus, this planets up there in the space in the heavens. So Ouranos is heaven. Isus Christos soterion hemon, Hyologithos, Theos, Pathera, who has Hyologithos blessed us, called Ouranos, in the heavenlies, right? When you read Ephesians 1 from verse 3 following. So, Omicron, Upsilon, Rho, and Alpha, Nu, Omicron, Sigma, Ouranos. You notice why I've been emphasizing that you need to study your alphabet and understand the sound of each of those, because we are able to pronounce this word using the unique sound of each of these letters. Ouranos. Omicron, Upsilon, Rho, Alpha, Nu, Omicron, Sigma, Ouranos. And this word literally means heaven, right? So, in a nutshell, these are the Greek vowels and the diphthong, and how this are put together. And so, like we say, the remaining letters, apart from the 7 we've been speaking about, the remaining letters are consonant letters. Now, there's some uniqueness that happens with these consonants when that letter is put together with another kind of letter. The change that happens in the form, and therefore the pronunciation. But we'll see that in the future lessons as we do amalgamation. In our next lesson, we will deal with breathing marks, pronunciation, and diacritical marks and accent marks. And once we are done with that, we will now begin getting into some vocabularies as we get into inflection, where you get the actual meat. But practice this again. Your alphabet, very, very important. Understand the sounds of each of those letters. Recognize differences in sounds and form and the changes it goes into and through, and then spend time in understanding the vowels. We've seen the difference between the English vowel and the Greek vowels, but also the similarities, and then understand these diphthongs and how the presence of a diphthong, 2 vowel letters put together to form 1 syllable, and therefore the 2 sound combined affects the pronunciation of the word that exists, that is having these diphthongs. And we'll continue with the rest of our lessons and as we progress. For now, this is it for this lesson. Please enjoy your time, enjoy studying. At least I've given you enough, at least 7 vocabularies in Greek here for you to recognize and begin practicing both the writing of it and the pronunciation of it. Ion, age, eirene, peace, oikos, house, uios, son, orthos, self, hyologithos, praise or blessed, Ouranos, heaven. At least practice this, writing it, pronouncing it, and begin recognizing it. For now, Practice and practice and practice, and see you in our next lesson.